we can say graphene is a wonder materials, and due to these exceptional properties, graphene has gained widespread research interest due to these all properties. And we know that in 2010, Andre Geim and Novoselov won the Nobel Prize in Physics for synthesis of this graphene by Skostef method. So first, let me discuss its crystal structure of graphene. We can see that graphene has a honeycomb lattice structure. But here important thing is that this honeycomb structure or honeycomb lattice is not a Bravais lattice, because if we see this structure carefully, we can see that if we assume these two atoms, atom A and atom B, then we can see that the surrounding around this atom A and B is different, or the surrounding between these two atoms are not identical, which is the requirement of the Bravais lattice. So here we can see that there is no atom to the right to this atom at A position, but there is a atom to the right to this atom at B. So that's why this honeycomb lattice is not a Bravais lattice. It's not related to graphene, but if we want to make this structure as Bravais lattice, then we have to add some extra atoms here, 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 and here. Then this lattice will become Bravais lattice, which is known as hexagonal close packing. So, but this honeycomb structure is not Bravais lattice. So, here I have changed the colors of these alternate carbon atoms. These all atoms are belong to carbon, but these gray atoms are at the lattice sites of this graphene. So here we can think that these two atoms are the basis of this crystal of this graphene. So this is the crystal of a graphene. And we can think this unit cell, this is the unit cell of graphene. We can think this unit cell in many ways. That is, we can also think it as a interpenetrating triangular lattice. So by using these two lattice, we can also make a graphene lattice, and we can see that one atom is in this lattice, and these four atoms are contributing 1/4 of this unit cell. So there are total 2 basis atoms per unit cell of graphene. And we know that due to these 2 atoms per primitive unit cell, we can say that graphene can show acoustic vibration and optical vibrations. Here we can consider these gray atoms as at the lattice points, or these red atoms at the lattice points, but we don't think all of these atoms on the lattice points. This is the simple structure as I show in earlier slide, and this is the reciprocal lattice of this honeycomb structure, which is again has this hexagonal symmetry, and corresponding to these 2 points AB, there are 2 points in graphene on the corner of this hexagon, that is K and K dash. These points are known as Dirac points. So now let me discuss about its electronic properties of graphene. So here we can see this is the variation of energy in the conduction band for graphene, and this is the variation of energy for carriers in the valence band. And here we can see that these valence band and conduction band are touching at these 6 points. And if we zoom these points, we can get this EK relation, which is linear. That is, here energy is changing linearly with this K. So as we know, for this linear relationship, we can apply Dirac equation instead of Schrodinger equation. So due to this, these 6 points are also known as Dirac points, because here electrons are behaving as massless particles, and we can apply this Dirac equation to solve their Hamiltonian. So these 6 points are known as Dirac points, which is very important. And due to these 6 points, graphene is also behaving as ambipolar characteristic. That is, graphene, we can tune charge carriers by applying some gate voltage. We can make electron as charge carrier in graphene, and at the same time we can also make holes as charge carrier. So by applying different gate voltage, we can manipulate the carrier type in graphene. This is very exceptional property of graphene. So let me differentiate between a conventional 2D material and graphene. Here we can see that in a conventional material 3D or 2D, the variation of K and E is parabolic in nature. But here in graphene, E varies linearly with K. So this is the main difference between this conventional material and graphene. And as I said in this slide, that is, at these 6 points, electrons behave as massless particle. But here, if we apply a simple effective mass formula, I think that is m star, which is equal to h cross by del square E by dk square. So I think we all know that the first derivative of this curve gives us the slope, and the second derivative gives this curvature. So here the effective mass is the reciprocal of this curvature. So if we see a conventional 2D material or 3D material, here we can see that the curvature for the valence band is different for the curvature for the conduction band. Here we can see this conduction band has a large curvature, so therefore the effective mass of electrons is smaller than the effective mass of hole, because this valence band has lower curvature as compared to this conduction band curvature. But in graphene, we can see that there is a linear relation between E and K. So if I write a simple linear equation, that is y is equal to mx plus c. So if we take first derivative of this equation, then we can get m, that is slope. And if we take second derivative of this equation, then which is 0. So if we apply a simple theory, that is m star effective mass is inversely proportional to curvature of this EK diagram, then mass of the graphene must be infinite. But here I am talking that graphene has 0 mass at these points. So I am giving this equation to all the research scholar or PG students, that is, they can think about this phenomena. That is why if we apply a simple theory, then we can get a infinite mass at these points. So, but in graphene, here we can get massless particles. So why this is the difference between theory and practical. So I think research scholar can think about this. And in density of state, we can see there is a band gap in conventional 2D system or semiconducting materials, but in graphene there is no band gap. As we increase the energy, the density of states are also going to increase. So here we can see that graphene is a 0 band semiconductor or semi metal, and there is a whole symmetry between hole and electron. That is, here we can see that the effective mass of electrons are different from the effective mass of holes. But here in graphene, effective mass of electron is equal to the effective mass of holes, because this curvature doesn't change for electrons or holes. This is very important point to note. So these are some potential applications of graphene. There are many applications of graphene. Almost in every research field we can see graphene has its application. So first, graphene can be used as a gas sensor. We can make transistor from graphene. We can make ICs from this graphene. We can use graphene as a water purification material. So in this way, there are many applications of graphene. So in this talk, I am going to discuss about gas sensing properties of graphene. That is, how can we use graphene as a gas sensing material. So now let me discuss about some synthesis of graphene. So there are mainly 4 types of synthesis methods by which we can synthesize graphene. So first is microchemical cleavage of graphite, which is known as Scotch-Tape method. And this method have some exceptional properties, like this method can create graphene with a near ideal crystal structure, but this method can be used for small production of graphene. Then second method is chemical cleaving of graphite, which is also known as Hammer's method. And by this method we can produce reduced graphene oxide, or the graphene that can have oxygen based groups. Third one is epitaxial growth, that produces large areas of continuous graphene layers, but electronic properties are changed by the staking faults and disorder introduced by the substrate, and we can't transfer this graphene to other substrate. So fourth one is chemical vapor deposition. This method is very unique, and by this method we can produce large area graphenes. Even in centimeter or meter scale we can produce graphene, and we can produce graphene with very high quality, and we can also transfer graphene from a substrate to another substrate for application purpose. So now I am going to present synthesis of graphene by this chemical vapor deposition method. So in CVD methods for growing graphene, I have used methane as reactants and copper as substrate. So I used methane because it is relatively stable hydrocarbon due to strong CS bond as a result of decomposition that occurs at more than 1200 degrees Celsius temperature. We can also use other hydrocarbons, but methane is preferred for growing single layer graphene. And we can also use many transition metals as a substrate for growing graphene, but copper is preferred due to some exceptional properties, like the low decomposition rate of methane on Cu allows the possibility of controlling the number of graphene, and we can also control the quality of graphene on Cu easily as compared to if we use other transition metals. So, and important thing here is that the carbon solubility of copper is very low as compared to nickel or iron or other transition materials. So in this presentation, I am going to present the synthesis of graphene by CVD method using CH4 as reactant on copper surface. So these are 4 main characterization techniques by which we can confirm the graphene. So first and most important is Raman spectroscopy, which is the backbone of the graphene in characterization. We can also AFM to know the quality of graphene or thickness of graphene. We can also use scanning tunneling microscopy, and we can also use TEM. And in Raman spectroscopy, we can easily get 3 peaks for graphene. The G peak, which can occur around 1580 centimeter inverse, is the signature of the graphitic carbon materials. And if we vary the energy of the laser, then this G peak can't be varied. Other peak is 2D peak, which can occur around 2700 centimeter inverse. Sometimes we call it as double tone of D peak. So this G and 2D peaks are very important to know the quality of graphene. Is the synthesized graphene a single layer, a double layer, or multi-layer? And if we know that for single layer graphene, the intensity ratio of this 2D peak and G peak, if equal to or greater than 2.5, then we can say this is a single layer graphene. And if the intensity of this 2D peak is equal to the intensity of this G peak, then we can say it's a bilayer graphene. And if this ratio is lower than 1, then the sample is obviously a multi-layer graphene. And at the same time, we can also confirm the quality of graphene by using its full width half maximum value. For a single layer graphene, the FWHM of 2D peak can vary from 25 to 35 centimeter inverse. And for bilayer graphene, it can vary from 45 to 50 centimeter inverse. And for multi-layer graphene, it always greater than 50 centimeter inverse. So these are the basic conditions. If when I use single layer graphene, it means that in that sample I2D by Ig ratio is equal to 2.5 or greater than 2.5, and the FWHM of that sample is between these 25 and 35 centimeter inverse. So this is the setup by which I synthesized graphene. This is a atmospheric pressure chemical vapor deposition system, and we can see this is a split type tube furnace with tube length 4 feet, and the diameter of the tube is 3 inches, and this furnace has a heating zone which is about 1 feet in length. And as I discussed earlier, that is, I used copper as substrate, copper foil as substrate with thickness 25 micrometer, and I used hydrogen, methane, and argon as reactants. So for synthesizing this graphene, I introduce the copper foil in this furnace, and then I start this heating of the furnace, and then I purge these various gases. So before putting the copper foil in this furnace, I cleaned the copper foil by using this technique, that is first in acetone, then DI, then in acetic acid for 10 minutes, then again I dip the copper foil in DI, then acetone, and in last IPA. So in synthesis process, this is the synthesis procedure for growing graphene. So first, CU foil cleaned and loaded into quartz tube reactor, and then reactor is heated to a temperature of 130 degrees Celsius and kept constant for 30 minutes to anneal the CU foil. in argon and hydrogen atmosphere. Then I switch on the methane of 3 SECM for 30 minutes. And after that, I switched off the methane. And in last, after cooling, I remove this copper foil from this quark tube. So these are the important parameters that can affect the quality of graphene. So first one is Cu annealing time, or second one is growth temperature, third one growth duration. This growth duration is very important to control the synthesis of graphene to a single layer graphene. Then the concentration of methane and hydrogen can also play an important role. Then cooling conditions are very important. And at last, if we synthesize good quality graphene on copper, and if we are not able to transfer this good quality graphene to another substrate, then this whole process will be useless. So this transfer process is also important. So first, I'm going to discuss this Cu thermal annealing temperature. So first, we can see that the graphene grown on copper foil without any annealing time, then we can see that the 2D peak, intensity of 2D peak is lower than this G peak. But as we increasing this annealing time, then we can see this 2D peak is going to increase. So, and we can see that as we increase the annealing time, this I2D by Ig ratio is also going to increase. And at the same time, the ratio of ID by Ig, and I think I forgot to mention that D peak is due to defects in graphene. This peak occurs at about 350 centimeter inverse, and if there is no defects in graphene, then we can't find any D peak. So in this sample, we can see that without annealing copper, we can see a D peak here. But as we increase this annealing time, we can see that D peak is going to decrease. So from these results, we can see that an annealing time about 30 minutes is very important to make single layer graphene with high quality. And these are the actual images of copper foil before annealing and after annealing. And we can see that after annealing, we can see larger grains in copper foil. So annealing of Cu reduces contaminates, scratches, and defects, which leads to inhibition of graphene nucleation. And we know that nucleation starts around these defects. So if we reduce these defects, then we can get graphene with high quality. So key point here is that a sufficient annealing time leads to growth of single layer graphene. Now I'm going to discuss about effect of deposition temperature. Here I start from 600 degrees Celsius, and below this 600 degrees Celsius temperature, I didn't see any signature of carbon. So I have removed all these images or graphs. So, but we can see as we increase the deposition temperature, the 2D peak starts to appear, and around 1000 degrees Celsius temperature, we can see that 2D peak is larger than the G peak. And at a temperature of 1030 degrees Celsius, we can see that there is no D peak, and we have a 2D peak, which is about 5 times larger than this G peak. So here we can see that the I2D by Ig ratio is more than 5 for this temperature. And at the same time, we can see that the 2 FWHM of 2D peak about 32 centimeter, which is in the range of single layer graphene. So as we know that mobility of carbon add atoms increases with temperature, and the probability of carbon atoms to adhere to the existing graphene nucleus becomes greater than the probability of carbon atoms to create new domain. So this is very important to grow single layer graphene. So key point here is that 1030 degrees Celsius temperature is optimal temperature for single layer graphene for our system. Now let's see effect of growth duration. And here we can see that I varied the growth duration from 2 seconds to 1 hour. And we can see that at 2 seconds, we can also get single layer graphene. Yeah. But as we increase the growth duration, we can get lesser and lesser defects. And at the same time, I2D by Ig ratio is also going to increase. So at 30 minutes, we can get single layer graphene with high quality. And as we again increase the growth duration to 1 hour, then we can see that again we can get single layer graphene. But 30 minutes is a sufficient time to grow single layer graphene with minimum defects. And these are the images taken by scanning electron microscope. We can see this is the SEM image of bare copper foil, and this sample is prepared for 2 seconds. We can see that small grains of carbon or graphene on this copper foil, and as we increase the growth duration, these grains, size of these grains are going to increase. And we can see that at for 1 minute of growth duration, we can see very beautiful images of these grains. And at the same time, if you know, there is a professor Reddy Roof. That scientist was published a paper in Science at that time when I was doing this experiment. So if I make it larger, we can see that these are very beautiful grains of graphene. We also used Kelvin probe for microscopy to get the difference between copper and carbon. So after Kelvin probe force microscopy, we are confirmed that these grains are made of graphene or carbon. So key points are here are that graphene growth is self-limiting process, and growth time is relatively less important parameter. Growth time determines the coverage of graphene on CU. That is, when we increase the growth duration, we can cover maximum of the copper surface by graphene. And after depositing a single layer of graphene, it's not easy to grow another layer on graphene, because that reduces the catalytic activity of copper, and we can't easily dissociate methane into carbon. So now let's see the effect of hydrogen fluoride, which is also important. And there are some points. Hydrogen increases decomposition rate of methane. That is, hydrogen is also helpful in removing of unwanted carbon. So here we can see that as we increase the hydrogen concentration, that the ratio of these I2D by Ig ratio is going to decrease. But at this 30 SCCM of hydrogen fluorate, we can get graphene with single layer graphene with high quality. So here we can see that if we decrease the hydrogen flow below this concentration, and if we increase the hydrogen flow rate after this, then we can get multi-layer graphene. So we can say that higher flow rate results in higher hydrogen coverage of Cu, and lower flow rate reduces CH4 decomposition. So we have to optimize this hydrogen flow rate or hydrogen concentration for growing single layer graphene. So here key point is that flow rate of 30 SCCM optimum for single layer graphene, and formation of multi-layer graphene starts as flow rate increases or decreases beyond this optimum value. So now let's see effect of methane flow rate. Here we can see that as we increasing the methane flow rate, we can get various I2D by Ig ratio, and we can see that at 3 SCCM of hydrogen flow rate, we can get a good quality single layer graphene. So with increasing methane flow rate, the catalytic reaction of copper surface increases, which results in formation of multi-layer graphene. And with decreasing of CH4 flow rate, the flow rate of hydrogen increases in the total flow rate that can as the carbon, so which results in inferior quality of graphene at lower amount of methane. So a optimum value of methane is crucial to grow single layer graphene. So here key point is that flow rate of 3 SCCM optimum for single layer and formation of multi-layer graphene start as flow rate increases or decreases beyond optimum value. So now let's see the effect of cooling conditions, and this step is also very crucial for making single layer graphene. So here we can see that the good quality of graphene can be synthesized when we switch on the argon and hydrogen in throughout the synthesis process, and we stop the methane after 30 minutes of this graphene synthesis. And as we switch on or off argon or hydrogen, or if we don't stop this methane flow rate, we can get graphene, but the quality of graphene is not as good as for this first process. So here key point is that cooling stage of growth process can also affect the graphene quality. So now I'm going to discuss about graphene transfer. So after growing graphene on copper foil, and graphene is grown on both sides of this copper foil. So first we have to remove graphene from one side of this copper, and we have to retain graphene from another surface of this copper. So doing this, first I have spin coated polymethyl methacrylate on this graphene, and after that I used HNO3 solution to remove graphene from this side of this copper, and after that I used FeCl3 solution to etch out this copper foil. We can see that here the copper foil is totally etched out, and after that by introducing a new substrate we can take out of this solution graphene, and after cleaning we can transfer this graphene to our desired substrate for another purpose. So these are the actual pictures taken during this transfer process. We can see that I always made a mark on front side of the copper file so that we can see easily that this surface is the graphene on this surface I want to retain. And after PMA deposition with spin coater, this is the etching solution. And after etching out of this copper file, we can see PMMA with graphene. Here we can see PMA and graphene. And after that, I introduce a glass slide below this PMA layer. And after that, I cleaned this graphene into various solution. And after cleaning of this graphene, I used SiO2 substrate for further requirement. And here, this is in this image, we can see graphene with PMA, and after etching of PMA, we can't see this graphene. So we can see these are the various steps for transfer of graphene. And one important thing here is that the concentration of PMA used is also important for transfer of single layer graphene. Here we can see that I varied the PMA concentration in anisole, and with this 2 milligram per ml of anisole, we can't transfer graphene using this solution, and this 10 mg per ml is sufficient to transfer graphene. And if we increase the concentration of this PMA, we can get various wrinkles and defects in graphene. So these are the optical images. Here we can see in image A, we can see graphene with PMMA. This image at lower magnification, and this one C1 at higher magnification. Similarly, in this image, we can see graphene without PMA after etching of this PMA with lower magnification and higher magnification. And we can easily see that due to the color difference in single layer and multi-layer graphene, we can see this is bare SiO2 layer on silicon, and this is single layer graphene, and this is multi-layer graphene. And these are the PMMA residues. Due to these PMMA residues, normally graphene synthesized by this CVD method shows a p-type conductivity. So this is the Raman spectroscopy images of transferred graphene. Here we can see that I to D by Ig ratio is about 5. And as we can see that this I to D by Ig ratio is going to decrease after transfer, but this FWHM is going to decrease, or the quality of the graphene is going to increase after this transfer process. This is the SCM image with graphene on CU foil, and this is the graphene after transfer on SiO2 substrate. We can see this one-to-one transfer. This point is here. So these are some AFM and STM images that I have taken. So in AFM images, by pointing a point here and second point at any point, so we can measure this thickness of this sample of graphene, and most of the time I got a thickness about 0.4 nanometer, which is equal to the thickness of the graphene. And these are STM images, and all these characterization techniques that I'm going to show in this presentation are carried out by me itself. So these are the STM images of our graphene sample, and almost I have worked for 4 months to get these 4 or 5 images, because taking of this type of images by STM is not easy, and I have taken more than 50,000 images and out of 50,000 images, I got 4 or 5 images that can I show in paper or in this type of conferences. So it's very crucial. And here we can see a beautiful honeycomb structure of graphene. And this is a single layer graphene. If this is a double layer graphene, then we can see stacking, but I'm not going to discuss that point. So here we can see single layer graphene. I also measured the mobility and carrier type in graphene by using a gate structure. And here we can see that the Dirac point is shifted to positive voltage. It means our graphene is showing a p-type conductivity. If it is shifted to this side of 0 voltage, then this graphene can show n-type conductivity. And here we can see that a graphene after etching of the PMA on SiO2, we can easily see single layer or multi-layer or double layer graphene. And due to some optical phenomena, there is a color difference between single layer graphene, double layer graphene, and multi-layer graphene. Here you can easily see a single layer graphene about 3 inches in length. And this is very continuous. We can glow light by making one contact here and one contact here. And in our sample, here I am quoting a mobility more about 5,000, but I also got mobility greater, which is larger than 20,000 per centimeter square per volt per second. So this is my first conclusion, that the flow rates of methane and hydrogen are important factors to determine the uniformity of CVD graphene. Growth temperature is also crucial for controlling the graphene thickness and defects concentration. And last one is the growth of graphene in atmospheric pressure chemical vapor deposition system is self-limiting, and deposition time is relatively less important parameter. So now let me discuss about some applications of graphene. My work is based on gas sensor and photovoltaic materials. So in this presentation, I'm going to present this hydrogen sensing properties of graphene. So these are motivations for using graphene based gas sensor. Being 2D material, whole volume of graphene can be exposed with the gas, that leads to higher sensitivity, and due to its high conductivity, signal to noise ratio is very low in graphene, and even we can detect a single atom by using graphene sensor. And this third point is very important because we can differentiate here in between CNT and graphene. With graphene, because it's due to its 2D nature, we can make 4 probe contacts, but in CNT we can't make this type of contacts. So it is also easy to fabricate 4 probe devices using graphene to avoid the influence of contact resistance. But there are some limitations too. Due to a perfect graphene crystal, there are no dangling bonds, and these dangling bonds are very important to make a gas sensor. But the selectivity and sensitivity of graphene can be enhanced by functionalization of the surface of the graphene by some nanoparticles of transition metals or using some polymers or other suitable modifiers. So because I'm using graphene as a hydrogen sensor, and I think many of us know that palladium is an ideal material for hydrogen sensor. which is because palladium has a very high sticking coefficient for hydrogen and a high diffusion rate for hydrogen, and palladium is very selective towards hydrogen. But there is a problem with palladium because due to its high cost, palladium based hydrogen sensors are not very economical. So to remove this difficulty, many scientists are using palladium's nanoparticles to make hydrogen sensor. But there are again some issues with palladium nanoparticles because low conductivity of discontinuous nanoparticles and lattice expansion and contraction during hydrogenation and dehydrogenation make these palladium particles very susceptible to mechanical and topographical instability. But graphene and palladium nanoparticles based nanocomposite seems to be promising and economical alternative for hydrogen sensing due to a large surface area of graphene and exceptional conductivity or selectivity of palladium towards hydrogen. So now I am going to discuss about hydrogen sensor based on palladium and graphene composite. So first let me introduce some important points of sensing. So for making hydrogen sensor with the help of palladium and graphene, first I transferred the graphene on SiO2 and then made these contacts by using silver, and then I deposited these palladium nanoparticles by using thermal deposition method. So when device is exposed to a hydrogen flow, then the initial resistance is we take as Ri, and when we expose this sample to hydrogen, then their resistance is going to increase, and after getting a saturation point, we can say that there is a resistance, final resistance, which I denoted here as Rf. So sensing response can be defined as Rf minus Ri by Ri into 100. So this is sensing response. And other important point is response time. So response time is the time taken to reach 90% of the final resistance when we start the hydrogen on, and recovery time is the time taken to reach 90% of the initial resistance from the final stage. So here one means hydrogen on and second means hydrogen off. So first I'm discuss about effect of palladium thickness. So first I transferred graphene on this SiO2 layer, and then I deposited a palladium layer with various thickness. So here we can see that with no palladium nanoparticles, there is no sensing response. But as we increase the palladium thickness, at 1 nanometer palladium thickness, we can get a sensing response about 25%. And as we increase the palladium thickness, the sensing response is also going to increase up to 10 nanometer of palladium thickness. But after that, sensing response is going to decrease and again then increase. But after 25 nanometer thickness, there is no difference or there is no variation of sensing response. Here we can see that our based graphene and palladium nanocomposite based hydrogen is going to excellent sensing response with 10 nanometer palladium thickness. And here I varied the hydrogen sensing concentration 0.02%, which is equal to 200 ppm to up to 2%. And we can see that there is a linear relation between hydrogen concentration and sensing response. So sensing response varies linearly with hydrogen concentration, we can see from here. And the maximum response, which is about 52%, we got with 10 nanometer of palladium thickness. Now here I am going to compare sensing response of palladium hydrogen sensor and palladium graphene nanocomposite based hydrogen sensor. And here we can see that with bare palladium with zero palladium thickness, there is no sensing response with palladium and PDG samples. But as we increase the palladium thickness, we can get sensing response in palladium and graphene sample, but there is no sensing response up to 5 nanometer of this palladium based hydrogen sensor. And here we can see an important point that at 10 nanometer of PD thickness, graphene and palladium based hydrogen sensor can show an increase in resistance, but hydrogen sensor which is based on bare palladium, we can see. कनिका कुछ दिक्कत है क्या? हेलो.
हेलो सर, इट्स ऑल राइट, प्लीज कंटिन्यू.
नहीं, बीच में कुछ आवाज आ रही थी, मैंने सोचा कि मेरी तो आवाज निकलेगी.
सर शायद किसी का माइक ऑन है.
ओके ओके.
बोल देगा.
सो
नेहल खान, प्लीज स्विच ऑफ योर माइक्रोफोन. ऑफ योर माइक्रोफोन.
So with 10 nanometer palladium thickness, we can see a drastic change between hydrogen sensor based on palladium graphene and bare palladium. So here we can see that the thickness of palladium layer plays an important role for the hydrogen sensing properties of graphene and palladium and graphene based composites. So now let me discuss this sensing mechanism in if we consider only graphene. We can see that here pristine graphene is showing a p-type conductivity. So after deposition of these palladium nanoparticles, because the work function of graphene palladium, which is about 5.6 electron volt, is greater than the work function of graphene, so here electrons can transfer from graphene to palladium for getting equilibrium, and after equilibrium we can see that the Fermi level of graphene shifts towards valence band. So in this way the p-type conductivity of graphene is going to increase after deposition of these palladium nanoparticles, and this we also confirmed this p-type conductivity by some electrical measurement and Raman spectroscopy, but I'm not going to show those results here. So when we expose this PDG sample, and we know that after exposure of hydrogen, palladium gets converted into palladium hydride, and due to this exposure of hydrogen, there is some lattice expansion in palladium nanoparticles or palladium lattice, and due to this the work function of PDG becomes lower than the work function of this graphene. And if you know that the work function of graphene is about 4.6 electron volt and work function of palladium is about 5.6 electron volt, but the work function of PDG is about 4.2 electron volt. So when palladium gets converted into palladium hydride, due to lower work function of this palladium hydride, now electrons will start move towards graphene, and due to this Fermi level of graphene will shift towards conduction band or towards this Dirac point. So due to this the conductivity of graphene is going to decrease, or resistance of graphene is going to increase, and that resistance we are going to measure in our hydrogen sensor. So now I'm going to discuss about hydrogen sensing properties in palladium only. If there is a continuous thin layer of or thick layer of palladium, then we can see that as we expose palladium with hydrogen, this hydrogen first get adsorbed on this palladium film, and after dissociation of molecular hydrogen into atomic hydrogen, these hydrogen atoms get dissolved with the lattice of the palladium, and these hydrogen atoms can act as a scattering centers, and in this way the electrical conductivity of the palladium is going to decrease, or the electrical resistance is going to increase. So we can see this type of signal in continuous palladium film. But when we deposited some palladium nanoparticle on any substrate, and if there is no connection between these nanoparticles, then we can't get any sensing response, because there is no percolation path between these nanoparticles, and we are only measuring the resistance of this SiO2 layer. But when we increase the thickness of this palladium film, we can get some palladium nanoparticles which are very close to each other, and when we expose these nanoparticles to hydrogen by their lattice expansion, some nanoparticles are going to close to each other, and due to this closeness there are some percolation path occurred in this sample. So in this way the resistance of the sample is going to decrease. So the effect which is showing in image A is known as electronic effect, because here hydrogen is acting as a scattering centers that reduce the conductivity of palladium, but here the conductivity of these nanoparticles are going to increase due to this geometrical effect, which is, so this type of sensing or phenomena is known as geometric effect. So these three processes can be occurred in palladium based hydrogen sensor. Now if we look at the morphology, and if we compare the resistance of the PD and PDG sample with the morphology, we can see that here these images are of bare palladium films, and these images are of PDG nanocomposite. Here we can see that this blue line with this scale and this red line is to this scale. So here we can see that with 1 nanometer PD thickness, the resistance of the palladium is about 35 mega ohm. But as we increase the palladium thickness, the resistance of the palladium is also going to decrease. But at the same time, the resistance of PDG sample is about 1.2 kilo ohm, and up to 10 nanometer of PD thickness, there is no much change in the resistance of this PDG sample. But as we increase the palladium thickness after this 10 nanometer, we can get the resistance of PDG and bare palladium is almost equal. So we can correlate this morphology, this resistance to the sensing mechanism of graphene and palladium, and by combining all these effects we can make this sensing mechanism that in PDG nanocomposite, when there are nanoparticles or when the thickness of the palladium is very low, then that the resistance of the graphene is lower than the resistance of this palladium nanoparticle. So in these samples we are taking the sensing response due to this palladium and graphene nanocomposite, and as we increase the palladium thickness, this is about 10 nanometer of PD thickness, again we are measuring the sensing response due to this palladium and graphene nanocomposite. But when we deposit a palladium film which is continuous, then we know that the palladium is a metal, so the resistance of the palladium film is very low as compared to graphene. So in this type of hydrogen sensor, we are measuring the sensing response of palladium only, not the palladium graphene composite. So in this way, we can see that at a 10 nanometer PD thickness, we can get a best results from palladium and best results from graphene. So in conclusion, a significantly higher sensing response with faster response and a recovery time has been observed in palladium and graphene based composite layers having isolated palladium nanoparticles deposited on single layer graphene. This study shows that hydrogen induced change in the work function of palladium on transforming to palladium hydride results in the compensation of p-type nature of palladium nanoparticles and graphene interface. Due to this effect, palladium, graphene, and palladium nanoparticles have completely different sensing behavior, especially at lower PD thickness. The optimum thickness of palladium is 10 nanometer, and this optimum thickness gives us best hydrogen sensor, which is based on PDZ, and we can get a sensing response more than 51% and a very fast response time, which is 6 seconds. And this is the best reported sensing response at that time. So the PDZ interface sensor is expected to have higher electrical response, stability, and repeatability due to the absence of structural defects created during repeated hydrogen cycling normally observed in sensor based on continuous palladium layers. So this is the end of my presentation, and I would like to sincerely acknowledge my supervisor, Professor Bodhraj Mehta from IIT Delhi, for providing all the experimental and characterization facility and giving me freedom to experiment based on my choice. I also very thankful to DSTUC and Indo-US Science and Technology Forum for providing financial supports. And I also acknowledge Dr. Joel Agar, which is senior scientist at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, Berkeley. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot
Informative talk, sir.
for such an informative talk, sir.
I'm sure that
The participants must have enhanced their existing knowledge about graphene, its synthesis characterization techniques, and its applications in hydrogen sensing. Is there any question from the participants? If yes, please unmute your microphone and you can ask. Any questions? Okay, so there is a question from Arvind Kumar. Am I audible?
yes. So,
What are the current? What are?
It's a very typical question. I think
Okay, so you are able to get that, right?
Sina sir can give a good answer of this question.
Sina sir.
क्वेश्चन क्या है?
So what are the current challenges?
What are the current challenges for graphene as device applications?
Very vague question.
Sina sir.
It is a very vague question. You can find it in the literature itself.
Yeah. सर एक बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग क्या है ग्रेफिन में तक की जो स्टडी हो रही थी सर, उसमें क्या हो रही थी कि मान लिया ग्रेफिन बना लिया, कैरेक्टराइजेशन कर लिया, उस तरह की थी जो मतलब नॉर्मली मतलब क्या एक नॉर्मल लैब में हम काम कर सकते हैं, लेकिन जो इस टाइम पे जो काम हो रहा है सर वो थोड़ा सा हाई प्रोफाइल का काम है। इस टाइम पे
हो रहा है।
ये सर एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड काम हो रहा है सर सारे का सारा, तो अभी चैलेंजिंग बहुत ज्यादा है।
अगर मेन डिस्कस कर सके तो
जी आपके पास थोड़ी सी आप दोबारा बोला करेंगे?
अगर कोई मेन डिस्कस कर सको पार्टिसिपेंट से
नहीं कोई बीच में बोल रहा है तो मुझे क्लियर आवाज नहीं आ रही।
हेलो हेलो।
हाँ
हाँ राकेश, मैं कह रही थी अगर कुछ पार्टिसिपेंट से मेन डिस्कस करना चाहें तो
वो
मतलब
मैंने जो
फिर
पहली
दो चार मेन।
पहली स्लाइड जो रखी ना उसी के ऊपर मैंने वो अपनी ईमेल आईडी भी लिखी हो, अगर किसी को कोई दिक्कत है, क्योंकि ये जो मैंने सिंथेसिस का या आप हाइड्रोजन सेंसिंग का भी छोड़ो, जो ग्रेफिन सिंथेसिस का है वो मतलब बड़ा ही यूनिक मेथड, और मैंने 3.5 साल उसके ऊपर लगाए हैं। तो अगर इस मेथड से कोई जाएगा, अगर किसी को ग्रेफिन बनानी हो, ग्रेफिन पे काम करना, तो डेफिनेटली he or she can produce good quality graphene.
So I guess main synthesis is one of the main challenge है
या
ना?
उसमें सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज यही है। मैं मतलब इसमें
Single layer graphene I guess है ना?
में था, वहां पे मैं क्राइसिस निकल जाता जिस टाइम पे यूएसए में था, तो मैं मतलब अपनी बढ़ाई नहीं कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन किसी के भी सैंपल ऐसे नहीं थे कि जिसके अंदर रमन स्पेक्ट्रा हो, आप कुछ भी कर लो, एसटीएम कर लो, कुछ भी कर लो, 99% आपको सिंगल लेयर ग्रेफिन के सिग्नेचर मिलेंगे।
एक मैंने मीटिंग अटेंड की थी, उसमें सीएनआर राव सर ने दिखाया था, और उनका 10 करोड़ का था वो टेम, एचआर टेम, उसके थ्रू उन्होंने ग्रेफीन लेयर दिखाई थी, सिंगल ग्रेफीन लेयर। तो आई गेस मेन चैलेंजेस इज वन इज सिंथेसिस एंड अदर इज सिंगल लेयर ग्रेफीन का सिंथेसिस एंड उसका फैक्टराइजेशन नहीं।
सिंथेसिस बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, अगर सिंथेसिस नहीं होता आगे सब कुछ। और सिंथेसिस ये जो मैं फर्नेस यूज कर रहा हूँ वो 10 लाख के करीब का है, क्योंकि हम इंडिया में जो फर्नेस लेते हैं उसके लिए फंडिंग बहुत जरूरी है, कि जो क्वार्ट्ज ट्यूब है या उसके अंदर जो टेम्परेचर है, अगर आपने 1030 कर दिया तो वो घंटों तक है ना इसी टेम्परेचर पे ±1 डिग्री होगा, वेरी नहीं करेगा, क्योंकि उसका इंसुलेशन बहुत प्रॉपर है। तो बहुत सारी चीजें हैं सिंथेसिस के लिए।
जिसका क्वेश्चन है ना, आई गेस वो खुद एक फैकल्टी है, डीयू की परमानेंट फैकल्टी है, तो उनके एस्पेक्ट से क्या क्या चैलेंजेस और मतलब कुछ भी और ऐड ऑन करना चाहें अगर हम, दिस इज द ओनली क्वेश्चन लाइक।
माय पार्डन, मैं बीच में कट गया आपके बाद।
मैंने कहा जिनका ये प्रॉब्लम है वो खुद परमानेंट फैकल्टी है डीयू की, तो उनके एस्पेक्ट से कुछ अरविंद यू कैन डायरेक्टली आस्क आई गेस।
नहीं, जिसको पूछना हो, मेरी अगर इंग्लिश समझ में नहीं आ रही, मैं इतना फ्लुएंट नहीं हूँ इंग्लिश बोलने में, तो हिंदी में पूछ सकते हो, ठीक है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं।
नहीं नहीं, actually sir, very nice talk given by you. This is my basic query regarding the current challenges for the graphene. I think I know some basic points about graphene, but I want to know the current status of graphene. What is the main challenges?
देखो करंट
Just
में
a query point of view only.
अभी जो करंट में जो हो रहा है वो एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड काम चल रहा सारा।
Yeah.
जिस तरह फिलहाल आजकल क्या चल रहा है, तो अगर आपने देखा हो तो मतलब सोलर ब्लाइंड फोटो डिटेक्टर बड़े यूज हो रहे हैं ग्रेफिन और MOS2 को यूज करके।
Okay.
तो फोटो
Sir, for stability point of view, it is good of single layer of graphene.
या नो प्रॉब्लम विद ग्रेफिन।
Yeah. Or can be used as the alternative of semiconductor in devices
वी कैन यूज
at this time.
हम ऑलरेडी यूज कर रहे हैं, उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, लेकिन ग्रेफिन से अगर आप देखो तो सैमसंग ने अभी स्क्रीन बनाई है ग्रेफिन यूज करके।
Okay.
तो बहुत काम हो रहा है इसके ऊपर, बहुत ज्यादा काम हो रहा है आजकल। वाटर प्यूरिफिकेशन में ग्रेफिन का बहुत यूज हो रहा है।
Sir, basically, if we want to synthesize graphene layer in a basic laboratory facility, so it is possible with minimum facility at college level.
आपको अगर मान लिया ग्रेफिन सिर्फ सिंथेसिस करना है तो एटलीस्ट आपके पास 5 लाख का बजट होना चाहिए। 5 लाख के बजट में आप ये फर्नेस वगैरह सारी चीजें लेके सिंथेसिस कर सकते हो, लेकिन इसके करेक्टाइजेशन के लिए सबसे पहले आपको रमन स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी की बहुत जरूरत है। मतलब क्या, जिस तरह मैंने जो रमन स्पेक्ट्रा, अगर मैं आपको पूरी फाइल
Yeah.
कि मैंने 3.5 साल तक, अगर आप जब भी मैं सिर्फ खाना खाने के लिए नीलगिरी हॉस्टल में, IIT दिल्ली में हॉस्टल में जाता था, नहीं 24 घंटे आप मुझे लैब में जो भी मुझे देखता था ना, तो लैब में ही होता था, ठीक है। तो ये बड़ा टिपिकल काम है, क्योंकि इसके अंदर पैरामीटर्स बहुत ज्यादा है। और जब आप लिटरेचर में जाओगे ना, जिस तरह मान लिया कि जो नॉर्मली जो यूज ग्रेफिन ग्रो होती है कॉपर के दोनों साइड में होती है, ठीक है। नॉर्मली आप लिटरेचर अब तो लोगों ने लिख दी, जिस तरह मैंने भी लिखी, उससे पहले क्या लोग छुपा लेते हैं बहुत सारे, कि जो उसके अंदर क्रूशियल पॉइंट होता है उसको छुपा लेते हैं बहुत सारे, है ना। तो आपको पता ही नहीं चलेगा, आपने सिंगल लेयर ग्रो कर रखी है, लेकिन जैसे आप कॉपर हटाओगे बीच से, तो नीचे की और ऊपर की दोनों लेयर मिलकर डबल हो जाएगी, या एक तरफ नॉर्मली ज्यादा डिफेक्ट होते हैं तो नीचे वाले डिफेक्ट भी आ जाएंगे, तो बड़ी दिक्कत होगी। आप लगे रहो 6 महीने लगे रहो, 1 साल तक लगे रहो, कितने वो आपको सिंगल लेयर जाएगी नहीं। तो इसलिए बहुत सारे पैरामीटर्स हैं इसके अंदर। आपकी जो कूलिंग कंडीशन है, आप अगर आप निकल लोगे तो कूलिंग कंडीशन बदल जाएगी। कूलिंग के उसके जो मैंने डिस्कस नहीं किया, वो निकल या जो दूसरी जो अपनी ट्रांजिशन मेटल्स है, उसमें सेग्रीगेशन के थ्रू ग्रेफिन का ग्रोथ होता है। तो सेग्रीगेशन में क्या चाहिए आपको, रैपिड कूलिंग चाहिए होती है, लेकिन कॉपर के लिए आप जितनी स्लो कूलिंग कर सकते हो उतना ही फायदा होगा, क्योंकि ये सरफेस फिनोमेना है।
Yes. So basically growth conditions are very crucial for graphene
बहुत
synthesis.
क्रूशियल, मतलब हर एक चीज में, मतलब ये नहीं कि मान लिया कि आपने एक पॉइंट वहां से पढ़ लिया, एक पॉइंट वहां से पढ़ लिया, क्योंकि एक एक पॉइंट से नहीं, सारे इसको मतलब इमोशनली अटैच होके हम करते, तभी अच्छे सैंपल आ सकते हैं, तभी अच्छे रिजल्ट आएंगे उसके, अगर एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड कुछ करेंगे।
Rakesh, I guess means you need sophisticated lab to fabricate.
नहीं, फैब्रिकेशन हाई फाई लैब की जरूरत नहीं है, लेकिन आगे फर्दर कैरेक्टराइजेशन एप्लीकेशन के लिए आपको बहुत हाई फाई लैब की जरूरत पड़ेगी।
हाँ, graphene based device करने
This
की,
is the
right?
main problem in our education system now.
इसलिए अगर आप देखोगे ना, देखो ग्रेफिन की जो मैंने मतलब अपनी अपनी थिंकिंग होती है, जो मैंने इसके अंदर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक प्रॉपर्टी, इसका सिर्फ क्रिस्टल स्ट्रक्चर ही डिस्कस किया है। इसके क्लीन पैराडॉक्स है, बहुत सारे हो रहे हैं ना, क्वांटम हॉल इफेक्ट है, बहुत सारे फिनोमिना, लेकिन वो अगर हम मान लिया अगर हर्ड व्हील है उसके ना, उसको नहीं है। तो मैंने जो भी इसको प्रेजेंट किया है, क्योंकि मैक्सिमम रिसर्च स्कॉलर है, ताकि वो इस तरह की चीजें हम इंडिया में रह के भी इस तरह की चीजें कर सकते हैं, सब मैंने वो प्रेजेंट करने की कोशिश की।
And it's a wonderful talk, sir.
ओके, थैंक यू।
अरविंद, आप आई गेस राकेश लेटर ऑन भी कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं डॉक्टर अरविंद, अगर
Yeah, sure, sir.
मैं शेयर कर सकती हूँ
ये
कॉन्टेक्ट डिटेल।
कोई नहीं, मैंने ईमेल आईडी दे रखी है, जो पहली स्लाइड है इसी के ऊपर rks@cs.ac.in है, राकेश
शेयर कर
कुमार।
सकती हूँ।
ये अभी नो प्रॉब्लम।
ओके ओके।
और किसी को कुछ पूछना हो तो बेझिझक पूछ सकता, मतलब ऐसे हिंदी में, इंग्लिश में, मतलब जिस तरह भी मुझे रिप्लाई करना आएगा तो मैं कर दूंगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं।
Dear participants, if you want to ask them anything. I guess there is no more question, so we can end this session. Ma'am.
Okay. Sheila sir, thank you very much for inviting me in this STC, and thank you very much, Ms. Kanika Agarwal.
It's our pleasure, Mr. Rakesh. Thank you so much for sharing your views.
Thanks very much, sir.
Thanks very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Now you can discuss about your tomorrow's program.
So, dear participants, as you already know, like our session will one day we'll have two sessions, one from 10:30 to 11:30, and second will be from one is from 10 to 11, and second is from 3:30 to 4:30. So we hope to see you in the early morning session, tomorrow's morning session.
So tomorrow morning 10 o'clock.
Yeah, tomorrow morning 10 o'clock, and please try to join in before 15 minutes. Try to join 15 minutes before the session,
Okay.
and we will share feedback link with you, and that would be mandatory. So with this we can answer.
Okay, thank you everyone.
I'll just send this to you.